This video is going to be a little different from what you're used to from me, but if you're a surfer looking for a vacation, I think you're going to want to stay tuned. So here's the dilemma. You're a surfer. Every time you go on vacation, you're looking for new waves, new breaks, places to surf. But maybe your spouse isn't as into surfing as you. Maybe your friends have no interest in surfing. Maybe your family aren't into surfing and are looking for something like an all-inclusive hotel where you can just sit and relax on the beach and get drinks and food and not have to think about things. Well, what if I told you that there's a place where you can have your cake and eat it too, because it's got a surf break right out front and it's a really nice all-inclusive hotel. I'm going to walk you through this resort from the standpoint of a surfer, do a regular hotel review, but mainly focusing on why this might be a good place to plan if you're looking for somewhere where you can surf while also getting that all-inclusive kind of typical Mexican hotel experience. So first of all, let me preclude this by saying that my wife and I are not really the all-inclusive hotel type. We enjoy trip planning and looking for places close to surf where you can kind of find those hidden gems. But I do have to say that especially after the last trip we had where a lot of things went wrong, the idea of an all-inclusive package where your flights, your meals, your drinks, your transportation to and from the airport is all taken care of. You got your accommodations looked after, you basically just have to show up and enjoy yourself, is a little bit appealing in some ways. The problem that I have is that most of these are in really touristy areas. They're in places where there's, more family-friendly beaches with no surf. So you tend to get nice beaches at all-inclusive resorts, but usually there's not a lot of wave action. There's a few exceptions around the world, and this so far is the best one I've found that's right in front of a world-class surf break, Punta Burros. Also, being in Punta Mita, it's away from some of the other really touristy areas, and you can get to a bunch of other surf breaks in Punta Mita and Sayulita really easily. This is the water sports station where you can rent gear. It used to be free use of surfboards, but they charge now. So for soft tops, it's $20 US for the day, and for hard top, it's $30 US for the day. So it is pretty steep, but you do get to use it for the whole day. It's not just a couple hours. It's right outside of Punta Burros. Waves are pretty small today, but it was really charging on Saturday, Sunday. On days when the waves are small, Punta Burros can serve up some waves that are good for all abilities. The left option is a little bit more tame than going right. The right can be pretty hollow and breaks over pretty shallow rocks that are covered in urchins, but taking the left sometimes will give you some short rides that aren't too bad. You can ride the whitewash over there if you're a really beginner. And so on smaller days, there are some options for even beginners. On bigger days, and it can get pretty big here, it can get hairy pretty quickly. I went on a day that Magic Seaweed has as 7 to 9 foot and quickly found myself a little bit out of my element. So if you're an intermediate or advanced surfer, there are some great waves to be found, but you can also quickly find yourself in the washing machine, and it might be best to leave that to the more advanced surfers. You can see it does actually get barreling waves on some days, so good if you're an advanced surfer looking for a challenge. Okay guys, I promise you I'm going to come back to the surfing, especially the other breaks that are nearby. But in the meantime, if you're watching with your spouse or your family or your friends who might not be that interested in surfing, I thought I'd get to some of the other stuff that this resort has. Because honestly, I think I still could have enjoyed myself even if the waves were flat while we were here. The rooms are really nice. They're decent size. You don't spend a lot of time in the rooms, so bed's super comfortable. But the best part is we upgraded to the nicer view rooms so that we can keep an eye on the waves and surf conditions. The nice thing is the hallways of the hotel are all open air, so they all open up. There's at the staircases, there's windows to the outside. So it feels nice and fresh, especially in COVID and stuff. You don't feel like you're stuck indoors even when you go to your room. Another thing that's good and bad is your keys are on these bracelets. So the good thing is it's waterproof. You can take that into the pool. You don't need to bring anything with you, which is nice. So you can go out without a wallet, without a key, not have to worry. The bad thing about it is, you know, if you go out into town, you're definitely going to stand out as an all-inclusive tourist. So just be aware of that. I keep mine under my watch. This is the main buffet entrance. So this is where you get breakfast or lunch if you eat lunch. And it's also where the Japanese restaurant is housed. The Japanese restaurant is above the main buffet area. It can be a little bit hidden when you're first trying to find it, but it's really beautiful up here. You can see the bamboo plants out the window. The sushi and the Japanese inspired food here was really good. We were quite impressed. In the morning for breakfast, there are several stations where they'll prepare fresh food for you, as well as the buffet station where you can pick up pre-prepared food under food lamps. The fresh stuff is the best, but honestly we weren't disappointed even by the stuff that was under the heat lamps. Breakfasts are really good, but it's hard to not overindulge. One section of the restaurant is open air, and it's really nice with that high thatched roof. There is a section that is air conditioned and closed in as well, so it depends on your preference. This is the terrace for La Adelita, which was our favorite restaurant here. You can see it's got this beautiful terrace overlooking Punta Burros. Waves are pretty flat today though. The a la carte restaurants are a lot better than the buffet in our opinion. You do have to make a reservation to get those, so it's a good idea to make a reservation early by calling or visiting guest services or using the app. La Adelita had this tableside guac, which was the best thing I think we tasted the whole trip. Make sure you make a reservation for La Adelita early on. So through here is the main area where you've got kind of the bulk of the activities. So you've got the main pool with the kids area. You got a couple restaurants. Portofino, the Italian restaurant, is right here. And next to that is the steakhouse, La Terrazza. All of the restaurants had a really nice atmosphere, nice views sometimes if you get the right seat, and the food was cooked amazingly. Everything I ordered was well cooked to the temperature that you order it. Very impressive level of service and good service from the servers as well.
Okay, then
now on top of the spicy serrano pepper margarita, we've got some sugar that's made from habanero peppers.
and tonic.
A lot of it actually.
Gracias.
It's delicious. Honestly, it's really good.
Alright guys, I promise we're going to come back to the resort. We're going to get off resort now to go check out some other surf spots. And the first stop you're going to want to make is just up the road to Mictlan Surf Shop. This is a spot where you can reserve boat trips to get to some of the breaks. You can rent gear. And it's also the spot where you can jump on the ATM bus to get into the little town. Now, there are different ways to get there. You can taxi, but the bus was only $1 each way to get to the little town of Corral del Risco. And the bus comes quite frequently. We rarely found ourselves waiting more than 5 minutes. The first spot we're going to check out is La Lancha. There are two ways to get there. You can either get on a boat. I think it's $60 for hours, so if you can arrange a big group, you can get past the initial paddle out and enjoy the waves. Or you can stop at Wild Mex and hike in from there. It's about 1.3 kilometers, so it'll be a good hike through the forest carrying a board, but it's another option to save some money. We took the boat and are glad we did, and man, what can I say about La Lancha? It is just perfection. It's a little bit isolated, so it's usually not too crowded. You will find some beginner surf lessons going on there, but it's easy to find waves, and they are just perfect longboard waves. If you're an intermediate surfer, these are just right. If you're a beginner, you're going to get some good practice on green waves. My wife and I got to have this share wave experience. I think it's the best wave that she's ever been on as someone who's a little bit more beginner. I mean, not that I'm super advanced, but she loved this experience and was stoked that I was right behind her. The only person who I'm okay with dropping in on me like that, because we got this really memorable clip. La Lancha is definitely a place to check out. Moving on from La Lancha, if you were to take the bus into the town near El Anclote, you'll find a number of great breaks there. If you're taking the ATM bus, just get off at Punta de Mita Hospital, or you'll see a large church. When you get off the bus, you're looking for this giant church. That's the easiest way to spot where you get off, and then just walk down that street towards the beach. This little town is beautiful. It's really authentic. Starting to see a few high-rises get built, but overall it's pretty authentic, small Mexican town. And there's just great peaks all along the beach here. Really good beginner to intermediate waves. Perfect waves for a longboard or a hybrid or a fish. But you can get some really long rides there. You know, got a few that were in the 45-second range. Could ride them right into the shore. One thing to watch out is there are a lot of urchins, so even though it's a beach break, it's a rocky beach and there's a ton of urchins down there, so watch your step when you get off. But just really fun, kind of soft, mellow waves at El Anclote. And if you walk down, there's a few different peaks you can take off, so even if one section is kind of busy, there are other places you can spread out and find waves. Now, there's an area that's a little bit more beginner friendly, so to get to this part, sort of the main wave, you walk down to the end of where all the restaurants are, and there's a beach access point. This is a little bit closer up the beach, so this is a bit smaller than the El Anclote section. Great for kids or for beginners learning. See, here we got a nice wave together again, just towards the tail end. And yeah, just perfect little small longboard waves here. Now, if you keep walking all the way down the opposite direction towards the east end of town, you'll get to another break called Stinky's. And if you're not sure why it's called Stinky's, as soon as you get there, you will. You'll also probably figure out why there's nobody else in the lineup sometimes. So keep your mouth closed when you're swimming. This is a fun little break, but it is the one area where I had some intestinal issues the day after surfing there. So, you know, the water quality is not great, but if you're willing to risk it, you can get some fun waves that are not too crowded. But as I said, make sure you keep your mouth shut when you wipe out. So as promised, let's turn our attention now back to the hotel and the facilities you have here. They were very forgiving of me for skating at their hotel. Nobody ever gave me a hard time about it. I tried to be respectful, but this is kind of the main hub of the area where you have your pool, you have your kids area, overlooks the beach. A lot of the rooms look down on here, so a lot of activities happen here. There's like exercise classes, dancing, stuff like that. There's also a little barbecue area for food, and there's a couple bars so you can stay refreshed.
All right, and of course, it isn't the all-inclusive experience unless you do the cheesy swim-up bar. Down from the pool area, it leads out to the main beach.
It's a decent beach. It's got a mix of rock and sand. Sand is pretty clean and smooth, but there are a lot of rocks out in the water, so it's good for exploring, and there's a little bit of reef life when it's not too rough. However, you do have to watch your toes because there's a lot of urchins around here and some sharp rocks. One nice thing about this beach is that the resort itself isn't that large, so it never felt overly crowded or busy. Like, especially on the beach, there was lots of area to spread out, areas where you could get a chair, lie down, and have a drink there. Yeah, it really didn't feel crowded or busy, even being there in the peak January tourist season. There's almost always some swell coming in here, so even if the winds aren't working right for good conditions, there's usually some slop to just have fun on the foamies. There's good spots for just playing around on the boogie boards. Lots of places to have fun in the waves if you're not a surfer, or if you just want to pass some time getting away from the big waves. Fun just exploring around the beach too. If you walk a little bit past the resort, there's these little tiny caves. You can get some nice photos in there. A little bit further towards the other side of the resort, there's this little tidal pool that they've built, so it's a nice calm area if the sea's kind of rough that you can just chill in. But our favorite part is the infinity pool, which looks over the surf. So this is the adults only infinity pool, which is a really nice place to relax. We spent a lot of time here. So there's a little kind of hot tub area with jets, and it looks out over the surf break. So when you're done surfing, it's a great spot to come sit and enjoy it. If you're into this sort of thing, there's a spa here. It's supposed to be really nice. Not my thing, so we didn't check it out any further than that. There's a soccer court / tennis court, which we use for surf skating. And there's this little kids area too. You can drop your kids off to like a kids program with babysitting and that if you want some time for just the adults. So that's nice if you're coming as a family. We came just by ourselves, so didn't make use of that. There's a surprising amount of green space on the resort, like these kind of secluded botanical gardens. There's a little zoo there. So there are ways to get away from the hustle and bustle, even inside here, you know, when people aren't skateboarding. So at the end of the day, how was my experience? Listen, if you're a surfer, I don't think you're going to find many better options for an all-inclusive style vacation than Grand Palladium Vallarta. There's so much surf for all levels of skill that's nearby that you're going to have a great time. And I think the key thing for me that stands out is that even if there was no surf, we just had a great time on our vacation outside of the waves. So the people were excellent, they were friendly, they were nice and welcoming, the food was fantastic, the service was top notch. It was just excellent all around. There was very little that I could say I disliked about our experience. So Grand Palladium Vallarta, keep doing what you're doing because we're definitely going to be back. If you watched this far, I just want to say thank you. Hit me in the comments if you had any questions about the resort, and I hope you found this helpful. See you next time.